Welcome to Sleep with Myth. Close your eyes and let the world fade away. Tonight we drift beyond time, where gods dream and stories remember their light. Before there were stars, there was silence. Not the kind that follows sound, but the kind that creates it. A silence so deep, even the void dared not move. Within that stillness lay two dreams, separate, sleeping, unaware of one another. One burned in the heart of darkness, unseen yet aching to shine. The other flowed in the endless deep, cool and patient, whispering lullabies to nothing. They did not know they were opposites. They did not know they were the beginning. For an age that could not be measured, they remained apart, the sleeping fire and the dreaming water, until the silence, lonely even for itself, sighed. That sigh, the first breath of the cosmos, rippled through nothingness, and in that ripple something stirred. From the sigh's vibration, the flame opened its eyes. It was not yet fire as we know it. It was the idea of warmth, the ache of becoming. It rose like a single thought breaking through eternity. I am, it whispered, and the darkness shuddered. This glow spread, trembling and newborn. The silence, now broken, began to tremble with life. The flame looked around and found nothing to burn. So it turned inward, feeding upon its own wonder. And deep below, far beneath that trembling glow, the water stirred. She woke to the faint pulse above, a rhythm she had never known. The sound of existence, the call of heat. "What is this light?" she murmured. Her voice flowed like a current through emptiness. It reached upward, curious, cautious, and when it touched the warmth, steam rose where they met. It was the first meeting of opposites, the first conversation. The flame recoiled in surprise. "You are not like me." "No," said the water, calm and unbroken. "And you are not like me." For a long moment, they regarded each other. Neither enemy, neither friend. Just two halves of a dream unsure of their shape. The flame flickered brighter. "Why do you move so slowly?" "Because I listen," the water said. "Movement without patience is only noise." The flame laughed softly, sparks scattering like stars. "Then perhaps I am noise, but I am alive." The water rose higher, the surface glowing with reflected fire. Alive is not the same as aware. And the silence, ancient and watching, smiled. For the first time creation had contrast. The flame spun above her, daring, restless. The water mirrored him, graceful, grounded. Every motion of one became the reflection of the other, and from their rhythm, waves began to form, soft, slow, beautiful. It was not destruction. It was dance. Each touch of heat turned to mist. Each breath of cool returned as rain. Together they painted the first sky, one made of vapor and memory. The flame, bewildered, said, "You take my strength and turn it into clouds." "Why?" "Because clouds remember what they've touched," said the water. "That is how the sky learns to feel." The flame dimmed, thoughtful. "Then perhaps I am learning to feel too." The water smiled, the first reflection of compassion. "Then listen, fire. Do not rush to burn. There is beauty in the slow dance of becoming." And so they danced. Flame and water, motion and stillness, rise and fall, until the silence began to hum with creation. Steam gathered above them, swirling and glowing, and from that glowing mist, the first storm began to form. Not a storm of rage, but of birth. Lightning struck for the first time, bridging their worlds. And in that strike, light remembered sound. The thunder rolled, and the void trembled. Thus creation began, not from battle but from balance. From the meeting of opposites that chose to dance instead of destroy. And the silence, now filled with rhythm, whispered to itself, "Let there be harmony." The flame smiled at the water. "Will you dance with me again?" The water replied, "Always, until the stars learn our steps." And so, the dance continued, the endless pulse of creation, beneath the newborn sky. The first storm was not born of anger. It was born of wonder, the wonder of opposites learning each other's rhythm. Above the endless sea of silence, fire and water swirled together in a dance so vast that even the void leaned closer to watch. Steam rose in spirals, carrying memory upward, until the sky itself began to tremble with anticipation. The flame spun higher, its light tracing arcs through the mist. The water followed in waves, mirroring each movement with grace and calm. Together they wove patterns in the air, circles, spirals, pulses, the first language of motion. "Do you feel it?" asked the flame, his voice trembling with excitement. "I feel the space between us," whispered the water. "It hums when we move." And indeed it did. The space between them began to sing, low at first, then rising like breath. That song became thunder, and thunder became heartbeat. It was the first sound the universe ever knew, the rhythm of life itself. The flame laughed, scattering light across the waves. "Your song shakes the sky." The water smiled, though her depths rippled with awe. "It is not my song alone, fire. It is ours." The storm gathered strength. Clouds born of their touch thickened, dark and heavy, yet alive with motion. Flashes of light flickered within them, the flame's laughter trapped inside water's embrace. And then, with a sound that echoed through eternity, lightning was born. It tore through the heavens, brilliant, pure, the first child of fire and water. The flame gazed upward, astonished. "What have we done?" The water's voice trembled like rain. "We have given light a path." The lightning danced between sky and sea, stitching them together, mending the gap between above and below. Each strike was a bridge, a heartbeat, a promise that connection could exist between what was different. But not all creation is gentle. The flame grew fierce, intoxicated by power. "If I can strike the sky, perhaps I can rule it." The water recoiled, her waves rising. "Rule it?" Fire, the dance was never meant to command. It was meant to remember. "I am not made to bow," cried the flame. "I was born to rise, and I was born to flow," the water replied. "If you rise without me, you will burn yourself into emptiness." The flame hesitated. His light flared and dimmed in confusion. "But I cannot stop." "Then let me teach you how to rest," said the water gently. She reached upward, her waves touching the edge of his heat. The contact hissed, pain and beauty intertwined. Steam billowed again, but this time softer, shaped by intention. The flame's fury cooled, his edges softened. "I thought stillness was death," he whispered. "No," said the water. "Stillness is breath before movement. Even the storm must inhale." The storm began to calm. thunder faded into a steady hum, lightning softened to distant glimmers. The flame hovered close to the water now, no longer defiant. "What are we now?" he asked quietly. "Balance," she said. "And in balance, even chaos finds its melody." The silence, watching them from beyond the clouds, smiled once more. For now it understood that sound, light, and motion were not accidents. They were reflections of union. The flame drifted lower, his reflection rippling across the water's surface. He saw himself, but different, softer, deeper, infinite. "Do you see that?" he whispered. "Yes," said the water. "It is you as I see you." The flame reached down. "And you as I see you, glowing within me." For a moment they merged, where fire met water, gold met blue, and the world glowed silver. In that touch, creation remembered its purpose, not to separate, but to share. And the first dawn broke, light not from the flame alone, nor from reflection, but from union. The water sighed. "You see now, fire? The sky did not need to be ruled. It only needed to be held." The flame bowed slightly. "Then hold me, and I will learn." And the water did. Together they floated, resting between storm and calm, between sound and silence. Two eternal dancers learning the rhythm of being. Far away, lightning faded into memory. The thunder's echo softened into lullaby. And creation, for the first time, slept, dreaming of all that would come after. When the storm slept, the world exhaled. The sky, once roaring with thunder, now hummed softly, a cradle for all that had been born in chaos. The flame and the water floated together, quiet, suspended between what was and what could be. Beneath them, the surface shimmered with silver mist. Above, the stars began to open their eyes, each one a memory of the storm's light, now cooled into calm. "Is this the end of our dance?" asked the flame softly. The water rippled, thoughtful. "There are no endings, fire. Only quieter steps." The flame smiled. "Then what comes next?" The water did not answer in words. Instead, she let her body move slow, deliberate. Waves spread outward, touching the remnants of the storm, guiding them into new shapes. The flame watched in awe. Wherever her touch lingered, the mist thickened, folded, and fell, forming land from nothing. The first shores were born, soft and warm beneath the light. "What is this?" the flame whispered. "Memory made solid," said the water. "Dreams that chose to rest." The flame reached down, brushing the newborn earth. "Then I will keep them warm." He descended, touching the surface with care. His heat seeped into the land, and the stone began to glow faintly, red veins pulsing beneath the crust. It was not destruction. It was life stirring in the dark. "Fire," said the water softly. "You are learning to stay. And you," he said, "are learning to let go." She laughed, a sound like rain on distant hills. "Then perhaps we are both becoming something greater." For a time beyond counting, they worked in harmony. The water carved valleys. The fire filled them with warmth. She cooled his excess. He gave her form. Together they shaped mountains, rivers, and skies. Their dance slowed but deepened. Not the wild rhythm of youth, but the patient grace of understanding. At night, When stars flickered like their shared memories, the flame would whisper, "Do you ever dream?" The water would smile, "I am made of dreams." "What do you dream of?" "Of balance," she said, "of a world where every warmth knows rest, and every current knows where to return." The flame flickered quietly. "Then I will dream with you." And so, they dreamed. Their dreams flowed together, merging into the heart of the new world. In that shared vision, warmth and motion intertwined, giving birth to something neither had imagined: life. It began as a shimmer on the surface, tiny sparks dancing in droplets and vapor. Shapes emerged, light breathing through mist, movement within stillness. Not gods, not elements, but something smaller, fragile, precious. The flame watched in awe. "What are these?" The water's voice was almost a whisper. "They are what happens when we stop trying to be eternal." Tiny hearts began to beat, carrying both warmth and calm, the twin gifts of fire and water. The first living beings opened their unseen eyes, and the world exhaled again, this time with love. "They carry us," said the flame. "They remember us," said the water. And the silence that had once ruled everything now simply listened, content, full, alive. But all creation carries shadow, and even in this balance, a question began to form. What happens, the flame wondered, when warmth fades or waves grow still? The water looked at him with infinite patience. "Then we will dance again." The flame bowed, humbled. "Then may our dance never end." And the stars, hearing their vow, pulsed brighter, as though blessing them. Together they watched as their children, light and liquid, warmth and rhythm, began to fill the world with motion. Every drop was a memory, every flicker a story, and the world began to dream of its own heart. Time began to flow, not as a river, but as breath, steady, soft, unending. And in that breath the world ripened. The children of fire and water grew numerous. They filled valleys and oceans, the skies and the soil, carrying warmth in their hearts and rhythm in their blood. Every spark became a thought, every ripple a song. The flame and the water watched in quiet awe. "They are more than we dreamed," whispered the fire. "They are what we dreamed," said the water. "But they will not remember us forever." The flame turned, startled. How could they forget? We are within them. The water's eyes shimmered like twilight. Yes, and that is why they must forget. Memory is the beginning of freedom. The flame's light dimmed thoughtfully. Freedom to what end? To find themselves, said the water. To make mistakes, and in those mistakes to rediscover the dance. For a time harmony held. The winds carried songs of gratitude. The earth glowed with warmth and pulse. But soon the children of creation began to change. Some looked to the fire and saw hunger. Some looked to the water and saw fear. They forgot the softness that bound the two. They began to name things mine, yours, above, below. And in naming they built walls between what once flowed freely. The flame saw this and trembled. They separate what we united. The water bowed her head. It is the echo forgetting the song. Should we remind them? He asked. No, said the water. To remind is to rob them of the joy of remembering. But the flame burned with sorrow. Their hearts cool. Their warmth fades. I can feel it. Then be patient, said the water. Every fading spark waits to be reignited. Even loss serves the dance. Yet the flame's grief grew heavy. He looked upon the world, mountains cracking, storms raging, rivers swallowed by thirst. And for the first time since creation he wept. His tears were not fire. They were molten gold, heavy with memory. They fell upon the earth, sinking deep into the stone. The water followed him, her waves calm but full of sorrow. You cannot save them by burning brighter. I do not wish to burn, said the flame softly. I wish to be near. And so, for the first time, fire descended into the sea. The water gasped. You cannot live here. Then let me die here, he said. If my warmth must fade, let it fade beside you. The water's depths trembled. You foolish, beautiful flame. She wrapped herself around him, cooling his pain, softening his sorrow. But where their bodies met, the sea began to glow. Golden ribbons of light spread through her currents, winding through the dark like veins of memory. Wherever they flowed, warmth returned. And the children who had forgotten for just a moment remembered. They looked up at the glowing water and whispered old prayers they did not understand. The sky once sang. The sea once dreamed. The flame's voice flickered faintly. You see? They remember. The water's tears fell as rain. Because you gave them part of your heart. The flame smiled, dim but peaceful. Then my forgetting will be worth it. He dreamed of flame and rhythm, of laughter beneath the stars. He dreamed of her, his patient ocean, his mirror of stillness. And though he could not wake, each dream stirred the waters above him, rippling into the world as change. Where he dreamed of light, coral bloomed. Where he dreamed of movement, whales sang. Where he dreamed of love, rain returned to thirsty lands. The ocean felt every tremor, every whisper. Sometimes she smiled, sometimes she wept, for she knew what the world did not. The dance had never ended, it had only gone quiet. One day, after countless dawns, a strange silence fell across the seas. The winds no longer carried songs. The stars dimmed, as if listening. And in that silence the water felt it, a heartbeat, soft, uncertain but alive. Fire, she whispered. Can it be? From the depths, the ember stirred. He did not wake fully, but his warmth spread. A pulse through the ocean floor, up through the waves, out toward the distant shores. Volcanoes stirred. The earth shivered. The air trembled with ancient remembrance. Do you hear it? Said the sea to the wind. Yes, murmured the wind. It sounds like the beginning. And indeed the world began to shift again. Old forests ignited with color. The night sky deepened into blue fire. Creatures lifted their heads, sensing something vast and familiar moving beneath them. The flame did not yet speak, but his dreams grew louder. He dreamed of return. Not yet, said the ocean softly, though her voice trembled. You are not ready. I am, he whispered from within. The world has forgotten too long. The world must remember itself, not us, she said. But how can it remember if there is no spark? The ocean hesitated. Her currents slowed, for even in her wisdom she had no answer. And then she felt it, a single tear rising from her depths. It was not her own. It was fire's. The tear rose upward, golden and weightless. It drifted through the water like a star reborn, climbing toward the surface. When it broke free, it did not vanish, it burned. A single flame, quiet and eternal, hovered upon the sea. The ocean gasped. "You're awake." "I never truly slept," said the fire. His voice was soft, warm as dawn. He rose just enough for her to see him, no longer wild, no longer proud. He was calm now, older, deeper, filled with memory. "I dreamed of you," he said, "and of everything we began." The ocean's surface rippled with emotion. "The world has changed, my fire. You may not recognize it. Then I will learn it again," he said. "With you." The sea hesitated. "And when it forgets once more?" He smiled. "Then we will teach it to dream again." Their reunion did not ignite the heavens, nor shake the earth. It was quiet, like breath returning after sorrow. Yet in that stillness, the balance of creation began to hum once more. Light touched water. Water cooled light. And between them, life remembered warmth. The stars above pulsed gently, as though bowing to the old dance. And the silence that had begun all things whispered once more. Harmony is not a moment. It is a choice made again and again. Beneath the waves, the ocean smiled. Upon her surface, the flame burned steady. Together they waited not for an ending, but for the next beginning. The night before the new dawn was endless. The stars hung in silence, listening. Even the winds dared not move, as though the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting for something ancient to awaken. Beneath the still sea, fire and water rested together, no longer opposites but harmony embodied. Their light pulsed slowly, two hearts beating as one, echoing through eternity. The flame whispered, "How long have we slept?" The water replied softly, "As long as the world needed to forget." He smiled faintly. "And now," she said, "it remembers." Above them the first light began to bloom. It was not born from the sun. The sun did not yet rise. It came from within the ocean itself, from where fire and water met once more, choosing unity over solitude. Their warmth spread upward, painting the deep in gold and sapphire. Currents glowed, waves shimmered, and clouds gathered to witness. The first true dawn broke, not as a blaze, but as a revelation. The ocean spoke. "The world stirs again." The flame nodded. "Then let it rise, not in our image, but in its own." And the dawn listened. From the horizon, mountains lifted their crowns from mist. Forests awakened, their leaves glistening with light. The air shimmered with new breath, the breath of balance. The creatures of earth, water, and air opened their eyes to this light and felt something deep within them stir. Not fear, not hunger, but memory. A memory older than stars. A warmth that whispered, "You were born of dance, not battle." The ocean sighed with joy. They remember without knowing. "That is enough," said the flame. "Names are not needed when the song is known." The water gazed at him, her waves shimmering. "Do you think we will fade again?" He looked to the sky, now blushing with gold. "Perhaps. But if we do, it will only be to rest until the next dawn calls." She smiled, serene. "And if the world forgets us, then it will find us in its heart, in every warmth that softens, in every tear that heals." As he spoke, the sea lifted him upward. The flame rose slowly, glowing brighter, yet no longer wild. When he reached the surface, his light did not burn. It embraced. He spread across the sky, becoming the first sun. And the water below shimmered, becoming the first sea. Together they formed the eternal rhythm of day and night, warmth and calm, the pulse that would guide all that came after. The silence that had once ruled creation watched in awe. It whispered through every star, every tide, every heartbeat. They danced, and the world remembered how to breathe. The flame's voice echoed gently through the dawn. "Do you feel it, my ocean? They are awake." The water replied, her waves glittering with morning light. "Then let them dream well, my fire." He bowed his rays toward her depths. "Until we dance again." "And we always will," she said. "For every dawn is our memory returning to the world." As the sun climbed higher, its reflection rippled across the sea. Two lights, one above and one below, inseparable, infinite. And so the first day began, not as creation's start, but as its continuation. The world, born of fire and water, learned to breathe, to love, and to dream. And the silence, now filled with life, smiled one final time before dissolving into song. Where there is warmth, there is flow. Where there is flow, there is light. And where fire meets water, there is forever.